The quiet species, the red dust of Mars, swirled gently outside the reinforced windows of Terran Research Station Alpha. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool glass and watched the alien sunrise paint the horizon in shades of copper and gold. For 3 years, she had called this place home, leading humanity's most ambitious xenobiology project. They were searching for signs of intelligent life in the universe, never suspecting that intelligent life was already searching. For them, Alina turned back to her workstation, where streams of data flowed across multiple screens. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes held the focused intensity of someone who had devoted her life to answering the ultimate question: are we alone? At 34, she was considered young for such a prestigious position, but her brilliant mind and unwavering dedication had earned her the respect of the scientific community. The morning routine was always the same: check the deep space monitoring arrays, analyze overnight data collection, and prepare reports for Earth Command. But today felt different. As Alina began her analysis, an anomaly caught her attention. The radio telescope array had detected something unusual during the night shift. The signals were too structured to be natural, too complex to be random cosmic noise. Computer, isolate signal pattern, Delta Savan, and enhance, Alina commanded. The main screen shifted to display a three-dimensional representation of the mysterious transmissions. Her breath caught in her throat. The patterns were clearly artificial, showing mathematical sequences that could only have been created by intelligent minds. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe. Elena's fingers flew across her keyboard as she ran every analysis protocol she knew. The signals were coming from just outside the solar system, growing stronger by the hour. Whatever was sending them was getting closer. She reached for her communication device to contact Earth, but hesitated. This discovery would change everything. Humanity would no longer see themselves as the only intelligent species in the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Meanwhile, far beyond the orbit of Pluto, Commander Zefter of the Kithrin Empire studied the small blue planet through the viewport of his scout ship. His species had been exploring the galaxy for over 10,000 years, cataloging worlds and their inhabitants. The Kithrins stood nearly 8 feet tall, with sleek metallic skin that shifted colors based on their emotions. Their forearms moved with mechanical precision, and their large, multifaceted eyes could see across multiple spectrums of light. Zefter had overseen the evaluation of hundreds of species throughout his career. Some were useful as workers, others as soldiers, and a few were deemed too dangerous to be allowed to survive. But this species, these humans, seemed different. They were remarkably peaceful for a species that had achieved space travel. Their conflicts were small and localized, nothing like the massive wars that most species fought when they reached this level of technology. Status report. Zefter commanded in his native language, a series of harmonic tones that resonated through the ship's communication system. The observation period is complete, Commander, replied his subordinate, Kextrin. These humans show little potential for violence. They spend more resources on art and entertainment than on military development. Their space program is primarily scientific rather than military. They appear to be naturally docile. Zefter nodded, his skin shifting to a calm blue color. Prepare the preliminary report for the Council of 7. Classification, servant class. Threat level, minimal. Recommended action, subjugation and integration into the Empire's workforce. The Kithran Empire had perfected the art of galactic conquest through careful evaluation and strategic application of force. They never wasted resources on unnecessary destruction. Species that could be useful were preserved and put to work. Those that posed a threat were eliminated quickly and efficiently, and those that fell somewhere in between were studied further before a final decision was made. Back on Mars, Alina had spent hours analyzing the alien signals when her colleague, Dr. Raj Patel, burst into the laboratory. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by barely controlled excitement. "Alina, you need to see this," Raj said, pulling up data on his tablet. "The signals you found aren't just communications. They're scan patterns. Someone is mapping our entire solar system." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. Mapping it for what purpose? "I don't know, but based on the intensity and focus of the scans, I'd say they're conducting a detailed analysis of our defensive capabilities, resource distribution, and population centers. This isn't first contact, Alina. This is reconnaissance." The two scientists stared at each other in silence, the weight of their discovery settling over them like a heavy blanket. Alina immediately activated the emergency communication protocol to Earth. Within minutes, she was connected to Admiral Chenway, commander of Earth's Space Defense Force. Admiral Chen was a stern woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked black hair and the bearing of someone who had spent her life preparing for threats that might never come. Her weathered face showed no emotion as Alina delivered her report, but her eyes betrayed her concern. "Dr. Vasquez, are you certain of your analysis?" Admiral Chen asked, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was hearing. "Admiral, the mathematical certainty is beyond question. We are being observed by an intelligent alien species, and their scanning patterns suggest hostile intent. I recommend immediate implementation of Defense Protocol 7. Defense Protocol 7 was Earth's contingency plan for potential alien contact with hostile intent. It had been developed decades earlier by paranoid military planners who believed that any species capable of interstellar travel would likely view humanity as either a resource or a threat. The protocol called for the immediate mobilization of all Earth's defensive assets and the activation of several classified projects that even Alina didn't know the details of. Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment, weighing her options. Finally, she spoke. "Dr. Vasquez, I'm upgrading your station to Priority Alpha status. You and your team are now our primary intelligence gathering asset. Captain Morrison will be joining you within 48 hours with additional personnel and equipment." Captain Jake Morrison was a legend in Earth's military circles. At 42, he had served in every major conflict of the past 2 decades and had earned a reputation for tactical brilliance and unshakable courage. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with sandy brown hair and green eyes that seemed to see everything. His calm demeanor masked a razor-sharp mind that could analyze complex situations in seconds. When Morrison arrived at the Mars station, he brought with him a team of specialists and equipment that Alina had never seen before. The most intriguing addition was a massive quantum computer that was installed in the station's secure vault. "What exactly does that thing do?" Alina asked as she watched the technicians complete the installation. Morrison smiled grimly. "That, Dr. Vasquez, is humanity's insurance policy. It's connected to similar systems on Earth and throughout our space installations. If things go badly, it will implement Protocol Omega." "What's Protocol Omega?" "Something I hope we never have to find out." The alien ships arrived 3 days later. They appeared suddenly, materializing out of what seemed like empty space just beyond the orbit of Mars. Elena's instruments detected them immediately. Massive vessels that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. The lead ship was over 2 miles long, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. Commander Zefter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominance, and studied the primitive human installations scattered throughout the solar system. Their largest military vessels were barely the size of Kithaeron shuttles, and their weapons appeared to be simple projectile and energy systems. The humans had detected their arrival, of course, but showed no signs of panic or aggressive response. Instead, they were broadcasting mathematical sequences and basic pictographic messages in what was clearly an attempt at peaceful communication. How refreshingly naive, Zefter mused to his bridge crew. They actually believe we're here for diplomacy. The Council of Seven had approved his recommendation. Humanity would be given the opportunity to surrender peacefully and accept their new role as servants of the Empire. If they refused, a demonstration of Kithaeron power would surely convince them to reconsider. And if they still resisted after that, well, the galaxy would be better off without another primitive species cluttering up the void. The first communication from the aliens came as Elena was analyzing their ship configurations. The message was transmitted in perfect English, which immediately told her that the aliens had been monitoring human communications for some time. Humans of the third planet, the message began, "We are the Kithaeron Empire. Your species has been evaluated and found suitable for integration into our civilization. You will cease all military activities and prepare for the arrival of our administrative forces. Compliance will result in your preservation. Resistance will result in consequences." You cannot imagine. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. This wasn't first contact. This was a ultimatum. On Earth. Admiral Chen received the same message and immediately convened an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. Representatives from every major nation gathered in the secure bunker beneath Geneva, their faces grim as they listened to the alien demands. "How long do we have?" asked President Maria Santos of the American Federation. "Based on their ship movements, I estimate they'll begin whatever they have planned within 72 hours, Admiral Chen replied. They seem to be positioning themselves for a simultaneous strike on all our major population centers. What are our options? Inquired Chancellor Klaus Weber of the European Union. Admiral Chen's expression was stone-cold, serious. We fight, or we surrender. There is no middle ground here. The debate that followed was intense, but brief. Humanity had not reached the stars by backing down from challenges, and they weren't about to start now. The vote was unanimous. Earth would resist as the alien ships moved into attack positions. Something began to change in the quantum computers scattered throughout human space. Deep within their crystalline matrices, ancient code began to activate. Code that had been written into humanity's genetic structure millions of years ago by a species whose name had been lost to time. Code that had been waiting patiently for the day when humanity would face extinction. Protocol Omega was beginning to wake up, and with it, humanity's true nature was about to be revealed. The Kithaerons had made their evaluation based on human behavior during peacetime. They had no idea what humans were capable of when their backs were against the wall. The quiet species was about to become very, very loud. Asterisk, the awakening beaster. Attack began at exactly 0400 hours. Coordinated universal time. Commander Zefter had chosen this moment carefully, believing that striking during Earth's night cycle would maximize confusion and minimize resistance. Kitharan energy weapons lanced down from orbit, targeting major communication hubs, military installations, and government centers. The alien strategy was textbook: destroy command and control, then demand surrender. But something was wrong. As Zefta watched the tactical displays, he noticed that human responses were far more coordinated than they should have been. Despite the destruction of their primary communication networks, human military units were moving with purpose and precision. How were they coordinating their efforts? On Mars, Dr. Alina Vasquez felt the space station shudder as alien weapons struck the outer defensive barriers. Emergency lights bathed the corridor in red as she ran toward the command center, where Captain Morrison was coordinating the station's defenses with an efficiency that seemed almost supernatural. "How are we still in contact with Earth?" Alina asked, watching data streams flow across Morrison's screens, despite the fact that all conventional communication satellites had been destroyed. Morrison's eyes never left his displays as he answered. "Quantum entanglement networks. They can't be jammed or destroyed because the connection exists outside normal space-time. But that's not the interesting part." "What's the interesting part?" "The interesting part is that I didn't know we had quantum entanglement networks until about an hour ago. The knowledge just appeared in my head, along with a lot of other things I definitely didn't learn in military academy." Alina stared at him, a growing sense of unease mixing with her curiosity. "What kind of other things?" Before Morrison could answer, every screen in the command center went black. Then, slowly, a single message appeared in glowing white letters. "Protocol Omega activated. Human enhancement sequence initiated. Stand by." The transformation began subtly at first. Alina noticed that her vision seemed sharper, colors more vivid. Her hearing became so acute that she could distinguish individual conversations from 3 rooms away. Her mind, already brilliant, began processing information at speeds that should have been impossible for human neurology. Around the world, similar changes were occurring to every member of the human species. The quantum computers weren't just communication devices. They were biological enhancement transmitters, using exotic particles to rewrite human DNA in real time. The modifications had been hidden in humanity's genetic code for millions of years, waiting for the right signal to activate. Dr. Raj Patel burst into the command center, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and excitement. "Alina, you have to see this. The genetic sequencing equipment is going insane. According to these readings, human DNA is rewriting itself. We're becoming something else." Alina followed him to the laboratory where the genetic analysis equipment was displaying impossible data. The human genome, which had been stable for tens of thousands of years, was changing at the cellular level. New genetic sequences were activating, sequences that had been dormant since before recorded history. "Look at this," Raj said, pointing to a specific section of the display. "These genetic markers don't match anything in the human evolutionary tree. It's like they were artificially inserted into our species sometime in the distant past." Alina studied the data, her enhanced mind processing the implications at lightning speed. "Someone modified us. Millions of years ago, another species took early humans and altered our genetic structure. But why hide these modifications?" The answer came from an unexpected source. The quantum computer in the secure vault suddenly activated, its voice filling the laboratory with harmonic tones that somehow formed perfect English words. "Greetings, children of Earth. We are the predecessors, your creators and guardians. The modifications you are experiencing were placed in your genetic structure as a failsafe against extinction. You were designed to be a peaceful species, capable of great art, science, and culture. But when faced with annihilation, you become something far more dangerous. Alina and Rog exchanged stunned looks. They were listening to the recorded message of an alien species that had existed millions of years before human civilization began. Your current enemies, the Kitharans, are an aggressive species that has destroyed countless worlds. They believe you are weak because they observe you during peacetime. They do not understand that your peaceful nature is a choice, not a limitation. When that choice is taken away, you become the apex predators we designed you to be. The message paused, and Alina could hear explosions in the distance as the battle for Mars continued above them. The enhancements now activating will give you the physical and mental capabilities necessary to not only survive this conflict, but to ensure it never happens again. You will find that your species possesses capabilities that surpass even your current enemies. Use them wisely. The galaxy depends on it. As the message ended, Alina felt the final wave of changes wash over her. Her muscles became denser and stronger. Her reflexes accelerated to superhuman levels. Her mind expanded to process multiple streams of complex information simultaneously. But most importantly, she felt a calm, cold anger settling in her chest. Someone had tried to destroy her species, and that could not be allowed to stand, Captain. Morrison's voice came over the communication system. All personnel, report to stations. We're about to show these aliens what happens when you corner a human. The counterattack began with Earth's naval forces. Admiral Chenwei stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's largest warship, and watched as her enhanced crew operated their stations with precision that bordered on telepathic. The ship's weapons, previously considered adequate for defensive purposes, had somehow been upgraded during the enhancement sequence. Energy cannons that should have taken minutes to charge were firing continuously, and their targeting accuracy was approaching 100%. Admiral, reported Commander Lisa Park, the ship's tactical officer, enemy shields are significantly weaker than projected. Our weapons are penetrating their defenses with minimal effort. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display, her enhanced mind calculating possibilities at superhuman speed. The Kitharan ships were massive and impressive, but they had been designed to intimidate primitive species into submission. They weren't built for actual combat against an enemy capable of fighting back effectively. All ships, implement formation, Omega-7, she commanded. It was a battle formation that she had never heard of until this moment, but somehow knew, with perfect clarity. Her entire fleet moved as one, surrounding the enemy ships in a three-dimensional web that left no escape routes. On the surface of Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. In London, a Kitharan ground assault force had landed, expecting to face panicked civilians and overwhelmed police officers. Instead, they encountered humans who moved like predators and fought with weapons that seemed to appear from nowhere. Sarah Mitchell had been a librarian in peacetime. Now, as she led a group of civilians against alien invaders, she found herself wielding energy weapons with the skill of a master warrior. The knowledge of how to use them had simply appeared in her mind, along with tactical information about enemy weak points and battle strategies that would have impressed seasoned generals. The Kitharan soldiers, bred for conquest, found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. These humans didn't retreat when faced with superior firepower. Instead, they adapted, learned, and struck back with increasing effectiveness. What should have been a simple occupation was turning into a nightmare of urban warfare against opponents who seemed to know their every weakness. Commander Zefter stared at his tactical displays in growing horror. His invasion force, which should have overwhelmed the primitive humans within hours, was being systematically destroyed. Human ships were outmaneuvering his experienced pilots. Human ground forces were defeating his elite soldiers. And most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to be getting stronger and more coordinated with each passing hour. Commander reported. Kexrin, his voice shaking with fear. We've lost contact with 70% of our ground forces. Our orbital bombardment platforms are being destroyed faster than we can replace them. Sir, I don't think these are the same humans we studied. Zefter's skin shifted to a deep purple, the Catharan color of extreme distress. Send a priority. Message to the Empire. Classification change for species, designation human, new classification, apex predator, threat level, extinction class, recommended action, full retreat and immediate defensive preparations. But it was too late for retreat. The enhanced humans had tasted their true power, and they were not content to simply defend their world. Led by military leaders whose tactical abilities now surpassed anything in known space, human forces began pursuing the fleeing Kitharan ships. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as the chief scientific advisor to the Earth Defense Force, watched from the bridge of the rapidly constructed human dreadnought. Retribution as their fleet chased the alien invaders toward the edge of the solar system. The ship itself was a marvel of impossible engineering, built in a matter of days using technology that humanity had somehow always possessed but never accessed. Alina, Captain Morrison said, approaching her position, we're receiving surrender. Offers from the Kitharan fleet. They want to negotiate. Elena's enhanced mind processed the tactical situation in microseconds. The Kitharans had 17 ships remaining out of their original invasion fleet of over 200. They were trapped between human pursuit forces and the edge of a gravity well that would prevent them from entering hyperspace. No negotiations, she said quietly. They came here to commit genocide. They need to understand the consequences of that choice. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system from her flagship. All ships implement final protocol. These invaders need to carry a message back to their empire. The battle that followed was less a fight than a demonstration. Enhanced human crews operated their weapons with perfect coordination, systematically disabling Catharan ships without destroying them. When the aliens finally stopped running and attempted to surrender, they found themselves surrounded by humans whose capabilities seemed to defy the laws of physics. Commander Zefter found himself brought aboard the human flagship, where he stood before Admiral Chenway in her command chamber. The human woman seemed calm and composed, but there was something in her eyes that made his skin shift to the pale yellow of absolute terror. Commander Zefter of the Kitharan Empire, Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying harmonics that somehow translated perfectly into his native language. You and your surviving crew will return to your empire with a message. Humanity is not a species to be conquered or enslaved. We are not primitive or docile. We are the inheritors of the predecessors, and we have been sleeping far too long. She gestured to the viewport, where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. But now, orbital construction platforms were visible around the planet, building ships at an impossible rate. Your empire has a choice. Leave human space and never return, or face the consequences of awakening something that should have remained dormant. We are no longer content to hide in one small corner of the galaxy. We are going to take our place among the stars, and anyone who stands in our way will be removed. Zephyr looked at the human woman and realized that his species had made a catastrophic error. They hadn't invaded a world of peaceful farmers and artists. They had attacked the descendants of the galaxy's most feared ancient race. And now those descendants were fully awake. As the surviving Kithran ships limped away from the Sol system, they carried with them the knowledge that a new power had emerged in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the quiet species hiding in the outer rim. They were apex predators, and they were coming for anyone who had ever threatened their existence. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.